Walk down any street in Mexico, and you quickly notice one thing. Most of the people you see are of mixed Spanish and indigenous descent. In contrast, even though English settlers interacted with indigenous Americans, today there are very few people in New England who have indigenous ancestry. In this video, we'll explore some of the reasons for this difference. The Kingdom of New Spain was established in 1521, following the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire. The capital of the new territory, Mexico City, was established on the site of the former Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan. The conquest was led by Hernán Cortés. Accompanied by 11 ships, 500 men, including African slaves, Cortés set out from Cuba in 1519. Using flat-bottomed boats he constructed in Veracruz, Cortés and his men laid siege to the Aztec capital for 93 days. Prior to the siege, the population of the city was almost 500,000 people, over 4 times that of London, England during the same period. Although numerous battles were fought between the Aztec Empire and the Spanish-led coalition of allied indigenous forces, it was the siege of Tenochtitlan that led to the fall of the Aztec Empire. Much of the indigenous population at the time was devastated due to smallpox brought by the Spanish, which killed much of its leadership. As a means of erasing the Aztec culture, the Spanish built Mexico City directly on top of and around the main square of Tenochtitlan. However, just beneath the surface are constant reminders of how the city once looked centuries ago. Central Mexico soon became the base of exploration and conquest in New Spain. The discovery of silver in 1540 attracted Spanish entrepreneurs and workers. Silver mining became integral to the development of New Spain, while greatly enriching the Spanish crown. During this period, the Spanish consolidated control over more remote parts of their territory by establishing missions. The missions facilitated the expansion of the Spanish Empire through religious conversion. The Catholicization of New Spain was a critical part of Spanish colonization. In 1565, Spain established a trans-Pacific trade route between Acapulco and the Philippines. In the Philippines, the Spanish exchanged silver with Chinese merchants for porcelain, silk, and other luxury goods. Many consider the silver trade between China and Spain to mark the beginning of a truly global economy. English Puritan separatists known as the Pilgrims first arrived in New England. There were roughly 60,000 indigenous Americans living in what would later become the New England colonies. The Pilgrims established a settlement on a site that had previously been occupied by indigenous Americans before they were wiped out from diseases. The area where the Pilgrims settled was occupied by the Wampanoag tribe. The leader of the Wampanoag, Massasoit, formed an alliance with the colonists. It was through the help of Massasoit that the Pilgrims avoided starvation in the early years of the colony. Within a few years, the colony at Plymouth thrived as a result of the economy that it had built alongside with the Wampanoag. Over the next several years, thousands of settlers would join the colonists. The main religion of the New England colonies was Puritan Christianity, but as colonies grew, they started to move away from that base. So too did their views about the indigenous Americans who shared their land. Colonists began encroaching on indigenous lands. The encroachment continued until hostilities broke out in 1675. Massasoit's son, Metacom, joined forces with other tribes to push back the borders of the colonies. In the 18 months that followed, 12 of the region's towns were destroyed, and many more were damaged. Hundreds of Wampanoags and their allies were publicly executed or enslaved, and the Wampanoags were left effectively landless. There are several factors that led to the differences between the ethnic makeup of New Spain when compared to New England. First, the indigenous population of New Spain numbered in the millions compared to the tens of thousands of Native Americans in New England. Second, the Spanish colonists were comprised of mostly men, while the ratio of male to female colonists was fairly even. Lastly, the establishment of missions in New Spain resulting in further mixing of European and indigenous populations. In Latin America, a caste system in which skin color is linked to social inequality persists till today. At the top of society are the whites, who see their social economic privilege as their right, while they view ethnically mixed and indigenous Latinos as inferior. While the Wampanoag helped the colonists survive, their support was followed by years of genocide and the taking of their land. The New England colonists' treatment of Native Americans reflected a duality that was repeated throughout American history. We hope you found this video informative. I believe that understanding the past will give you a better appreciation of the places that we visit on the open road.